Good evening. This is CTV News for Tuesday, March 3rd. I'm Gina Barty.
And I'm Patricia Malone. Glad to have you with us tonight. Well, concerns about high-volume hydraulic fracturing coming to the state have sparked numerous bills in the Maryland legislature this session. The issue has also galvanized those against fracking. Just prior to a Senate hearing this afternoon, protesters rallied on Lawyers Mall, some calling for an outright ban on the process that's used to extract natural gas.
We don't have health data informing the regulations that have been put forth in Maryland. Because we don't have those data and because 75% of the health studies have been released since January of 2013, we need a longer-term moratorium so we can look at health effects and then decide what's best for the state of Maryland.
Over 50% of our revenue in the county is from tourism-based business, and we have about 10% of the businesses in Garrett County that have already signed on just in the last 2 weeks that they are concerned and they really support the moratorium. There are tremendous risks with exposing our environment and exposing our tourism base to a questionable practice that is dangerous and inherently hazardous.
This afternoon's hearing took place in the Senate Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee.
Meantime, several bills that seek to repeal the so-called rain tax and allow counties the option to decide whether or not to impose fees are heard before a Senate committee in Annapolis today. The tax requires the state's 10 largest jurisdictions to fund pollution-reducing projects to meet federal EPA requirements. Sponsors of the legislation say localities shouldn't be forced to impose fees upon businesses, many of which are now struggling to pay the thousands of dollars in additional taxes. Supporters, including Governor Larry Hogan, says the legislation doesn't interfere with the federal mandate.
Spaces, and now you've just told me that because I have 25 parking spaces, I owe $6 grand or $7 grand to the county, and it's not a one-time fee; it's an every year annual fee, and that's the part that I find onerous. That's the part I think doing harm.
The Maryland counties have the ability. We have property tax, and as you know, a number of ways to raise revenue and to fund our projects. Some are bond funded and so forth. So I don't think it's fair to say necessarily that a county is going to have to raise anything to fund this.
Carroll County was able to put money aside from existing resources to pay for their requirements. So why should we force them to increase taxes on their citizens when they already had a way to pay for it?
Opponents of the legislation say it would set back efforts to reduce pollution and manage storm water runoff that ends in the Chesapeake Bay. Two bills that aim to make Prince George's more environmentally friendly are presented to the County Council today. One would ban the use and sale of coal tar, a pavement product used for asphalt and concrete surfaces. The U.S. Geological Survey has identified elements in coal tar that are suspected human carcinogens and toxic to aquatic life. The measure also provides for alternatives and outlines the penalties for violation. The second bill would require combustible or recyclable alternatives to expanded polystyrene commonly used for packaging food. County Councilwoman Marilyn Lehman is the lead sponsor of the legislation.
Prince George's public schools have canceled all evening activities due to sleet and freezing rain. Forecasters are anticipating anywhere from a trace to a tenth of an inch of ice. And it doesn't stop there. We have more inclement weather coming our way on Wednesday into Thursday.
We're hearing varying forecasts right now, anywhere from 1 to 6 inches to 4 to 8 inches that will be starting on Friday.
What are you all doing right now to prepare for this weather?
For the weather today, we have pre-treated the primary roadways, the hills, the coal spots, and the bridges. We also activated a full deployment of personnel and resources this morning at 7:30. So we have 220 trucks on the roadways now.
And the Department of Public Works and Transportation is urging motorists to stay off the roadways during these storms. If you must drive, use extreme caution, especially on bridges, overpasses, and ramps, which tend to freeze first. Well, this winter's lengthy cold snap has taken its toll on WSSC's aging infrastructure. The company says technicians repaired 426 water main breaks last month, but compare that to February of 2014, there were 479 breaks, a record high. These recent numbers are alarming because the average number of breaks for the month of February going back to 1976 is 132. The emergency call center was also very busy. Operators fielded 17,000 calls last month compared with 7,700 in February of 2014. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Gina Bartiz. Still to come.